Hey there, super friends. This is Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Monday, January 8th, 2018. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can friend up our Last Point Gaming Facebook account. You can follow us on Twitter at Last Point Gaming. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Stranger Sparrow, or you can always reach out directly with an email to lastpointgaming@gmail.com. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. Last Point Gaming everywhere. YouTube, it does have spaces everywhere else. If you just search for Last Point Gaming with no spaces in it, you should be able to find us. So apparently, like Friday, I just never uploaded the episode, which is a little weird. So that one went up this morning, and then this one's going to go up pretty early today. Actually have to leave work because my kids got an early dismissal from school from wintry weather. Sorry for the extra noise here real quick. I'm just trying to get the little tiny bits of ice stuck to my windshield off. So, I'm going to start with the weekend gaming report. I made a list of 10 cards from Rivals of Ixalan I wanted to talk about. It's sitting on my desk. Yeah, been that kind of day. Gonna talk about them this week. We had a GP and an Open this weekend, so going to find some information on those, talk about those this week. And I'm still debating if I want to even talk about the current community drama kind of thing going on, because it really looks like a valid point, and in some ways it is, in some ways it is not. So, yeah, I may finally break my silence on this one and talk about it, but let's get started with the weekend gaming report. So, went to FNM on Friday. I ended up running it because Judge had a family commitment. And, I don't know, I think I screwed something up. Like, we only had 9 players, and we did 4 rounds. So, that may be where stuff kind of got messed up. Like, Boo, I ran the pairings for last round. She had to buy the round before, and she got the buy again, which I know things get hinky once you're in a situation where there's only so many matches possible. So, yeah, I don't know. Ah, shit. This fucking dash mount. God damn it. See, I can't tell if this one is just lesser quality than my old one, because my old one broke shortly before I got my new phone, and my new phone is much bigger. So I don't know if it's the phone barely fits with the case, because I put my phone in an OtterBox because I'm like a goddamn baby deer learning how to walk for the first time on the ice. I drop this shit all the time. OtterBox should totally pay me to rep their stuff, because, nah, seriously, when we went to the Game Table Cafe, I had gone to pull my phone out to check something, and I was talking to somebody. I wasn't really paying attention, and, like, it came straight out of my pocket, out of my hand, onto the floor, face down, and they're like, oh god, is it okay? And I picked it up, and it's fine. I'm like, yeah, OtterBoxes are great. Highly recommend to, protect your $800 pocket computer. Yeah, this is a weird thing. I'm going to digress here for a second. We're talking about getting a new rig for down in the cave to do all our video editing on and stuff, and that may be where I end up doing recordings from, because Leoria is so beat because she's so old. And I start speccing things out, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna spend $1,000 on a computer. for my For Funsies project. I mean, I guess we could load it up with like Steam and everything if we get it okay gaming spec wise, because if you're looking at like a gaming desktop, like high-end specs, easily looking at $2,000. So I'm like, maybe we'll get more utility out of it. I'm kind of like, man, do I really want to spend this kind of money, or can I get by with something a little bit lighter? Meanwhile, I'm walking around with a near $1,000 pocket computer that I use to play Fallout Shelter and check Facebook. Priorities, man. Anyway. So, I went 3-1, but I only actually had one win. I got the bye round 2 after losing round 1 to Bolus in the Rami Red Mirror. And then round 3 I won, and round 4 my opponent bailed and didn't mark drop on his slip. So yeah, I don't know. It was a weird night. I know having only 9 players at FNM now post-holiday feels bad. We did have, I want to say 18 show up for the store championship. The week before, which, we had some new faces there that we'd never seen before, so, everybody tried to chat with them and hey, welcome to the community. So we were hoping to see those new faces back, and we did not. I definitely think part of it's the standard format, but hopefully it's not that we're losing players because this isn't the first standard format or bad standard format in the last year. During the time where the shop was successfully firing both modern and standard FNM was the era of Sahili Cat combo. People got so sick of playing against that. And that was just last year. So there's rumblings going on of changing the format of FNM for now. I think they may be waiting to see how Rivals shakes up the format. And there are definitely some decent cards in Rivals. Is it going to be enough to unseat Teamer? I don't know, but there's some exciting things there. Again, I managed to find 10 whole cards, not all of them rares, that I'm like, yeah, these cards are pretty good, and it's going to be a good augment for this deck or that deck. So Rivals is looking very solid. I just don't know that it's going to be enough, because Teamer is very oppressive. And honestly, I don't know what they could ban at this point to fix it. There's a lot of rumblings that people want to see Attune with Aether banned, but I don't know that that's actually going to fix the problem. It'll slow down Teamer energy. And will make the mana just a shade touchier. Because, Attune is a good mana fixer. If you have an opening hand with a Forest and Attune with Aether, you keep it. Get out of my way, friend. So that might fix the problem, but it also might not. I don't know. It seems like such an inconsequential card to ban to fix the problem, but if you really think about it, typical Teamer opening is turn 1 Attune into turn 2 Long Tusk Cub into an attack on turn 2 or on turn 3. hopefully uncontested, to get your 4 energy in the bank, and then kind of go from there and cast your Bristling Hydra with 3 energy on tap. Even being able to cast the Cub with 2 energy on tap from the Attune is, pretty good. Because again, it requires your opponent to basically take their whole turn off lightning striking it or abrading it, as opposed to, as a red player, because red seems to be the only deck that really stands firm against Steamer. Because, Fatal Push is also an answer to Long Tusk Cub, that it really doesn't matter how much energy you have when it comes out. But as far as damage-based spells, it forces you to use the 2-mana spell as opposed to a 1-mana shock on it. So I don't know, an Attune ban could slow it down enough that it becomes reasonable and warp the consistency of the deck a little bit. But I don't know. I'm skeptical, and I really hate to see standard card bans. This is one of the reasons that a shorter rotation cycle would have been nice. But at the same time, a shorter rotation cycle means a shorter time of trying to limp along the same deck until rotation hits. So, I don't know. It's a mixed bag. The other thing we did this weekend is the whole fam went to the open house event. Now, most of what I did at the open house was work with Bird and teach her how to play. She seemed to enjoy getting to play, but she seemed to find the shop environment both intimidating and distracting. Once we played our match, and she beat me, I definitely went soft on her. I know I've talked before about how I don't let Boo win, though Boo is a very brassy personality. She's not fazed by a loss. Bird's a little more sensitive. I definitely wouldn't be taking her to FNMs yet till we work on the sportsmanship a little bit, and how, I've talked before how I generally don't advocate taking dives at FNM to encourage new players, because it just will lead them to get crushed somewhere else, because they're gonna think that they're this amazing player that this just comes naturally to. They're gonna go to even just a PPTQ and get slaughtered, and it's gonna hit that much harder, So, but open house events are a little bit different. Taking a couple dives there, it's real friendly and everything. Everybody's just learning how to play. So yeah, I let her win. And I asked her if she wanted to try to play against somebody else, and she was very against that. She said she might be willing to play against Boo, but Boo was over at a different table rolling people. Which, oddly enough, she seemed to really encourage. I know husband ended up working with a woman that was there with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend had played against husband. He gave him the whole, "Oh, I know what I'm doing," and husband rolled him. And again, I generally wouldn't advocate doing that with newer players, but this guy was kind of cocky with him, and that's kind of husband's response to arrogance. Is, "Okay, son, let's see what you got." And his girlfriend was watching. So at the end of their match, he said to her, he's like, "Well, do you want to play?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm just watching. I don't really know how to play." And he's like, "You get a free deck. So why don't you just go grab your free cards, and we'll work together." And, she was inspired by seeing Boo over there, throwing elbows at everything and playing with the big dogs. And, she sat and played, and husband had some power plays he could have made that he didn't. And, he worked with her, helping her learn how to play the game. I didn't really get a chance to play against anybody else. I had asked the one guy if he wanted to play, and he kind of looked at me and was like, we're going to head out after, this game that's going on now, him and his whole group. He's like, I've seen you around here before, we can play another time. And I don't know if it was, I've seen you play at FNM. I'm not dealing with your spike ass. Because FNM is a bit different. But all in all, it was a pretty successful event. We got a fair amount of people out there, and that was encouraging. I know, talking to New Dodger, I said, looked like a pretty healthy turnout, and he said he was kind of surprised it was as light as it was, because the other open houses, they've gotten much bigger attendance, and the promo for the open house was a pretty good promo. It was Silvergill Adept, which is in fact played in modern Merfolk, even the old version before all the augments from Ixalan. So it was a good event. We ended up then Saturday night at home playing some two-headed giant with the kiddos, all four of us sitting around the kitchen table playing. And that was nice. I'm not sure Bird's ever going to be into the tournament scene. No, okay, never mind. I'll just... she is a much more delicate soul than Boo. She really loved sitting around the kitchen table playing, but I'm not sure she's ever going to be one of those people that, she wants to go out to FNM and wants to go to PPTQs and everything. She's at that age where she's starting to try to define her own identity, but at the same time, her own identity, a lot of the influence comes from, her closest role model, which is her big sister. So I think she likes something that, the whole family can engage in and everything. And, that she gets to participate with that. But at the same time, she doesn't have the spark for it that Boo had when we first sat down to learn how to play, and Boo's like, yeah, I want to cast some dragons. I mean, that may change. Boo was a little older when I started working with her than Bird is now, so maybe as Bird gets a little older, that'll change, but at this point, she doesn't seem very interested in playing beyond the kitchen table, which is totally fine. She is a budding musician. A long time ago, my mother-in-law had gotten a, kid's acoustic guitar for Boo. And Boo kind of played around with it, but didn't really do much with it, and she ended up giving it to Bird. So Bird, being the little genius that she is, took to YouTube and looked up videos on how to learn to play the guitar, and has taught herself like 3 chords. Not a whole lot, but I mean, to play Green Day songs, I think you only need the G chord. So I think there's at least one of their songs that it's just the G chord over and over again. So yeah, that I was really impressed to find that out, and we're hoping to find her some lessons, so she may go off in a different path, and that's cool. I enjoy that Sage is... Oh, shit. I enjoy that Boo is so into gaming. I enjoy that, that's the thing we can share, and that's the thing she shares with her dad. They play FPSs together. They're currently rocking some PUBG. she actually had gotten pretty good with Battlefield, and she's still... PUBG is apparently a bit more difficult of an FPS, I guess because you don't start out with any gear. So she's building her skill sets there. But, you know, I love that she shares in all these things with us, whereas Bird, you know, yeah, she plays herself some Pokemon. They play some Minecraft together, but, you know, I'm like, oh, so you want to play Skyrim? And she's like, nope, there's dragons in that, and they, like, eat you. Not what I'm about. Her and I share more of a creative bond. She's very into the arts, like all of them. And, you know, Boo likes to doodle and everything too, but she doesn't display the same interest in that side as Bird does. So, it was a fun event. It was great to take her along with me, to get the whole family out and everything. I could see a point where we're doing $100 a pop, but the whole family going and doing Two-Headed Giant pre-releases together. I could see us getting to that point. I don't think we're going to be there right now, but yeah, it was a really good time. I'm glad we got a chance to go out for that. If you haven't checked out your local Magic Open House events, I recommend checking them out. Just don't roll new players. You know, be informative, be welcoming. This is the kind of environment where, you know, take a couple dives to build a little bit of confidence. There's no stakes, there's nothing on the line, it's a free event. You get an intro deck full of garbage cards. Got some Sarah Angel action going on. You know, they're all low-powered decks. The promo you get is hit or miss, like it is with most promos. You know, we went from Progenitus to Mutavault as far as GP promos are concerned. Did anybody actually want Progenitus? Is anybody playing that card in anything? Doubtful. Maybe Commander. I don't know much about the Commander scene. But it's a neat event, and it's an opportunity to go help the next generation learn, you know. I also recommend on your, you know, personal social media accounts, when your local shop puts up the Facebook event, if your local shop's like mine and uses Facebook events, you know, sharing that word out. Especially if you talk about gaming on your personal social media at all. If you talk about playing Magic and there's an event coming up, post about it. Say, you know, hey, anybody who's listened to me talk about this crazy card game I played and ever wanted to know more about it, here's an event. It's free to come play. Come check it out. Come learn how to play. And if you come check it out and decide you never want to play again, you're not out anything. Because, you know, like I've said many, many times, new players are the lifeblood of the game. If we're not growing, we're dying. And if it comes to the point where Magic becomes a negative cash investment for Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, Mattel, whoever ends up owning it, they're just going to stop. And our game's going to die. And none of us want to see that, right? So, encouraging new players to come check it out, encouraging new players to come out to FNMs, and, you know, even if they have no interest in going beyond that level, even if they don't even have an interest in playing FNM, just learning about the game, seeing how everything goes. This is one of those areas where I do especially encourage you to promote this kind of stuff to, you know, female friends that you have that have expressed interest, but for whatever reason haven't taken the plunge. I don't generally advocate treating women in gaming any differently, because that's still sexism. And a lot of times the worst kind of sexism is people trying to be helpful. Because it's that much more upsetting because it's so much harder to approach explaining how you're actually not being helpful, but being condescending. You know, it's one thing when somebody's being an asshole about things and you're like, all right, dickhead, let's go. It's another thing when you realize that it's coming from a good place and you don't want to squash that, like, drive to do good, but at the same time, they're not doing good. So yeah, I don't generally advocate treating female players differently because they're women. If you know players that, you know, have a little problem in the self-confidence area and have trouble standing up for themselves, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of creed, just all those protected classes, regardless of their favorite color, I do recommend, you know, always stand up for those people, advocate for them, have their back. But the presumption that only applies to women is kind of bullshit. But when it comes to new player events, I do recommend being helpful and encouraging to women and making sure that they feel welcome. You know, making it clear that they're as welcome there as anybody else. So that's what I got to say there. I'm still a little bit ways from home, but not too far, so I don't want to get too hard into another topic. Again, tomorrow I'm probably going to talk about this community issue and my thoughts there. And then Wednesday, go over spoilers that I'm excited about and the events this past weekend. And then Thursday, there will probably be a little bit more to talk about on that community issue. If you're wondering what community issue I'm talking about, it's the thing that's erupted lately over screening on judges. Should judges be required to have background check paperwork? To become a judge, should it be required for events? You know, whose responsibility is it to make that determination? Why is it that there's a judge that was recently decertified and there's yet to be any information on a DCI ban on him? And I want to explain some things. Like, one of the key points is that the DCI and the judge program are two separate things. So, you know, as far as the case with the Canadian judge who got decertified, why wasn't he immediately DCI banned? That doesn't fall in the judge program's purview. The judge program did what they could by decertifying him. As far as the DCI ban, that has to go through the DCI. The judge program and the DCI are not, in fact, the same body. They're not, like, they're affiliated to the same game, but they don't necessarily intermix. So I'm sure things were filed with DCI to make them aware of the problem. But ultimately, a ban or lack thereof on him through the DCI comes down to the DCI's discretion. And I don't know anything about that. Like, I don't have any insider information there. And honestly, if I did, I likely wouldn't share it. But there may be an investigation going on. The DCI does not seem to issue suspensions or bans without a thorough investigation to determine the validity of it, to determine how long the ban or suspension should be for, and, you know, examine the case, so to speak. So that's a point I will just get out there now. But the rest of it, I'm going to talk about more in detail tomorrow. But I am home now, so as always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.